there's often times in your life when you're doing something that you love, that you have to make the decision as to go with the right way to live as defined, you know what I'm saying, by going to college, getting that whole, you know, lay over, take the bone, and have, like, you know, bills as you're supposed to, as opposed to doing something that you love to do, you love to write. So how did that transition sort of look like for you, is what I'm most interested in knowing.
One of the ways in which I was lucky is that, you know, as I said earlier, I started college late. And I was going to college with the idea of going to law school. And I started writing when I was in college, you know, and as I said, you know, when I went to that poetry reading, like, I recognized immediately this is how I'm supposed to be connected to the planet. And I went home immediately and started writing, and that never stopped. By the time 2 years later I had to take the LSATs, like, it was literally a week before the LSATs, and I wasn't feeling it, right? I was like, I wasn't feeling it at all. And I was like, what am I going to do? Here's the thing, I was 28 at the time, which is, you know, not ancient by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a lot better place to try to make a decision about the rest of your life than when you're 22, right? Or 19, or whatever, you know, most of you are at right now. And so, what I decided then was, like, I'm not going to be happy as a lawyer. The LSATs, continue to write. Of course, I got a lot of pushback from my mom, but I was 28 and living in the next country. Right? I mean, like, I could hang up. You know what I mean? So I recognize that in some ways, I'm lucky to have had that perspective to be able to make that choice then. I think one of the things to recognize for yourselves at this point is that there are still a million options open to you, right? And there are definitely a million more options open to you now than were open to me when I was your age. And it is possible, and I think all of you should go to college. And I think while you're in college, that you should think not about what makes me most employable, but what makes me most happy. And I'm convinced that employable will come from that. I'm really convinced. I can't guarantee you'll become rich, but I'm convinced the ability to live in the world and be happy with what you're doing in the world will come from that, right? And if writing is part of that, it'll manifest, right? I mean, ultimately, nobody writes poetry because they think they're going to get famous and rich. If you're doing that right now, like, chill, dog, like, for real. Like, you know what I mean? Because you're going to be real disappointed in about 6 months. You know what I mean? So like, ultimately, you will know if poetry, if you have to write poems, because you won't be able to know. You know what I mean? And so you have to kind of, like, while it's a risk, it's both a risk and you have to trust in yourself and the way your life is going. You know, there are all these different ways you can make sure that you get an education that you want to get while doing things and contributing to the world in a way that you want to, so that you know, so you don't lose your mind.
I know, like, for me, my question is, like, what is the best method to, like, harvest your idea? Because, like, there may come a time. It could be right now at this point. Anybody could actually be having an idea like right now. Right. And by the time you get, like, you try to hold on to that idea before you get back to the house. Because you know by the time you get there, there's so much noise and everything, so you can't really hear your thoughts.
Right.
So, like, what would you say, like, is the best method to, like, harvest your thoughts, your ideas?
You know, I don't know if there's a best method. What I do know is that if writing is important to you, take the idea when you get it, right? If you have to jot down a few lines, if you have to pull yourself away from a party, and in that book that Jay-Z just put out, he talks about when he was a corner boy, like, he would go to the corner store and buy something just so he could have the brown bag to write rhymes on, to jot down ideas on, you know what I mean? That's coming to a point where you know this is this thing you have to do, and you have to do it no matter what else you're doing. So he's selling rock on the corner and writing what he has to write on a brown bag so that he doesn't stop while still doing that job. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, there's no best method except, you know, I have another, you know, poetry mentor, Toy Derricott, who in the middle of a workshop, if you come up with an idea that she likes, she'll tell you leave the workshop where she's teaching about poetry and go and write it. because her thing is, once you become a poet, the poem is the most important thing.